This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined by none other than Big John Fury. We're here at the lovely Haymaker Gym in Vauxhall. How are you, John?
I'm very well, yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. Nice to see you. Nice to see you looking so well and so smart.
So slim as well, look at that. Hey?
You're using the Rob Tebbutt trick of dressing all in black, which I really like. I rate that.
Black hides a lot of faults in a man's body.
It certainly does. And so does staying on this side of the camera as well, which is why I'm here.
I'm okay for my age, you know. I'm happy with where I'm at for my age.
I think you're looking pretty well. But before we get on to talking about this weekend, of course, Tommy Fury returns to the ring on the Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley undercard. Seeing you getting about and doing, you're trying to take my job away from me now. You're interviewing fighters.
The thing is, it was thought up by BT Sport, a fabulous company that I'm working for, you know, and big up BT Sport for giving me these opportunities and giving me the chance to get myself out there, you know, which without BT I wouldn't be doing it. So yeah, big up to them. I'm enjoying it, meeting different people, different characters. You know, I'm learning at the grand old age I am now. So yeah, it's all good stuff.
And you're doing a very good job with it as well. Okay, so let's talk about this weekend. Of course, your son Tommy Fury returns to the ring against Anthony Taylor. First and foremost, of course, you keep an eye over his training while he's over here. How's he been the last few weeks in preparation for this fight?
He's done everything absolutely spot on, Tommy. You know, he's trained hard. You know, he's ate right. His weight's bang on. If he got on the plane on Saturday on weight, I think he was 12 stone 13, and the bout is only at 12 stone 12. So that's just a detriment to the way he's worked, you know. So he's done really, really well in what he's doing, you know. So I'm over the moon with him. I'm just going to enjoy the fight, relax on Sunday, because I know he's put the work in. We've had quality sparring for him. You know, he's trained hard, done plenty of road work. He's done everything he needs to do. You know, I'm tight on this fella, he's boxing. This Taylor, we'll just see. I know nothing about him. He doesn't, but I'm confident in what Tommy can do, his ability.
I was just going to come on to that. Obviously, Anthony Taylor's not somebody anybody really knows a tremendous amount of. How does that change your role in training? Is it just preparing Tommy to be the best Tommy that he can be?
Well, it's a thing what came up. You know, it wasn't really a planned job going to America, you know, but they've called it on. We accepted. You know, it's good business sense, and what these MMA fighters bring to the game is awkwardness, because they're coming looking to take people down, coming to hold and mess around. It'll take Tommy a few minutes to work him out, but I'm sure once he tastes his Tommy's power, it'll be all over.
Now, obviously, carrying the Fury name along with him has brought a lot of eyes and attention to his career so far. But I think this is probably the first time that we've had somebody, one of the opponents at least, kind of put it on him a little bit and talk and kind of build up to the fight. Yeah, what's that been like for Tommy in preparation for this one? Usually, you know, people don't really say too much, but this one, Anthony Taylor's had a few things to say.
Listen, I taught and told Tommy most of his life. Money builds houses. Talk is cheap, you know, and everybody can talk. They're all good at talking, but when they get in that ring and up close and personal, it's a different matter. And Tommy is a serious character. You know, he'll laugh and joke. You know, he does his thing, comes across like a pleasant kind of a guy. You know, he does his thing, wears his heart on his sleeve, but once he's in that ring, Tommy will hurt you. He's got the tools to hurt you, and he wants to hurt you. And he will hurt Anthony Taylor this Sunday, believe me.
We've mentioned there kind of it being an opportunity that kind of came a little bit out of the blue. We've obviously seen Jake Paul and Tommy Fury kind of having their to-dos in the last few months or so, but what a fantastic opportunity so early in Tommy's career to get that American exposure.
Well, yeah, you know, because at the end of the day, we all need a little bit of luck in life. And Tommy's had that, you know, he's in the right place at the right time, and he did the Love Island thing, come out of that on top, you know, because a lot of people thought he'd won and did enjoy his what he did on there. So what can I say about it? Everything's fell into place like a jigsaw for Tommy. But he's had to work at it. He's listened to guidance, you know, and we've guided him well. And he's here now on the biggest stage of all you could get at this stage in his career. He's a 6-fight novice, we know that. But listen, Jake Paul's a 3-fight novice. Look where he's at. They're getting more viewing figures and probably more money than current world champions. So yeah, he's a lucky man to be in this position. But he's had to work for it. You know, he's looked right and he's been in the right place at the right time. Obviously, he's Tyson's brother. Big up to my son Tyson. Without him, nothing's possible, even for me, Tommy, or anybody else. We all know that. So well done, Tyson, for putting the rest of us on the map. But listen, Tommy's still got to do it himself, and I'm sure he will.
Now, I know we've spoken about this in previous interviews and something that you've certainly said to Andy, of course, somebody who you're very familiar with on Boxing Social, but the fact that you're not able to travel over to America, having kept such a keen eye over Tommy's career so far, and indeed Tyson in the past, got to be disappointing for you.
It is disappointing, you know, but I accept my position in life that I can't travel. You know, my wings are clipped, it's probably over for me. I'll probably never see the big fights live again. But it doesn't stop me putting the work in because of my sons. If it was anybody else, I would down tools. I wouldn't bother with it because the setback of not being there when you put all that work in would be too much for me. But to my boys, and I've got to support them all the way, and I've got to work and help them as much as I possibly can, and I will keep doing that. Even though I can't be there, so what? There's people not here at all. People's lost their fathers completely. They've died and left them to it. But I'm still here. I'm living and breathing. I'm walking and talking, helping out where I can. I'm working hard for them behind the scenes. So yeah, no problem with me that.
What's going to be Tommy's training situation when he's out there?
He's done his work here. It's just keeping loose, stretching, keeping his weight right and just performing, filling his tank up basically, because he's done the hard work here now. All he's going to do over there is just stretch out, be loose, practice what we've preached and get on with it Sunday.
We've spoken about Jake Paul here, and we've obviously spoken about your new role at BT Sport. I said to you off camera beforehand that I watched your kind of round table with Vidal Riley, Dan Hardy, etc. You were very complimentary of Jake Paul. I felt like there was certainly a respect from you on that side.
Well, sure, you've got to admire a kid like that. What he's done at 22-year-old is phenomenal, and he's a very witty, intelligent kid. He's not just a boxer or fighter. He's a good business brain on him, and his mother and father can be proud of him. I like witty people, especially in kids of his age, so yeah, I'm a fan of Jake Paul. Whether he can fight or not, that's irrelevant, but listen, don't stop me liking him. Boxing's not a personal thing. It's just a talent thing. If one's not as good as another, that's no problem. He's still a sharp kid, a witty kid, who's always going to do well in life, with or without boxing.
You mentioned kind of his witty nature, and he's well known for his content and some of the bits and pieces that he said over this. Obviously, you've been around the block in this funny old game of boxing. It's something that kind of part and parcel of the game, isn't it, really?
It is, you meet a lot of different characters, but you know what? Character sells, charisma sells, personality sells, and he's got bags of it. And without that, you can be the best fighter in the world. If you're a little bit dull, no one's interested. People like extravagance today. It's showtime, and that's what he brings to the table, showtime.
You touched on it before, whether or not he can fight or not. Obviously, the opposition that we've seen so far hasn't been the stiffest. But he goes in against Tyron Woodley, somebody who's obviously experienced in combat sports and MMA for 20-odd years. Most dangerous fights by far so far for Jake Paul.
He doesn't need to have experience with proper hard fighters, does he? If he's making plenty of money and he's doing things right, and all the doors are opening, why risk it with a professional fighter unless he's getting well paid? Tyron Woodley, I think he's a good fight for him. He's been inactive. What I've learned of him, and inactivity. What can you do if you've not practiced what you've preached? It'll be hard on the night. But I just think Jake Paul, the business people around him on the business side of things, it's all on his side, and he's just there, I think, to make Jake another win on his record.
Having said that, for somebody who's coming through, Jake Paul, somebody who's inexperienced, how big of a box is it that needs ticking, the fact that he hasn't taken a flush shot on the chin?
Why should he? Why should he take a flush shot on the chin when he's making millions of dollars? He's got millions of Instagram followers. This boxing's a business, and he is a YouTuber. Let's not forget the fact he's a YouTuber. He's not a professional boxer. You can only way you can call this a professional boxer if you're fighting professional boxers, and that's the game you're in. But he's a YouTuber, and the fights he's had have been gimmies, haven't they? Just been there to make him look good. YouTubers like yourself, no real threats, but they're looking after him, and they're doing it right. I'd do the same thing with him. I wouldn't risk him at all unless it was for a lot of money and it needed to be. So that's just me. It's business. He's making money. His handlers are doing things perfect with him. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Ultimately, do you think that would be the difference between him and Tommy if and when that fight does happen, that pedigree, that being around a gym for many, many years?
Yeah, well, listen, he could never live with Tommy on pedigree. Tommy spent most of his adult life around a world champion. He sparred endless rounds with Tyson, the heavyweight champion of the world, currently and before as a kid. So has Jake Paul done that? Has he shared the ring with opposition like that? Does he know what it's like to be still beat upon when your legs are gone? I don't think he does. So at the end of the day, Tommy's a fighter. He's lived and breathed it all his life. That'll be the difference on the night between him and Jake Paul. One's done it. One's been in the trenches. We're world-class men. Not world-class, world champions, heavyweights, gigantic men. 19, 20 stone men banging away at you, head to body. Jake Paul couldn't stand what Tommy's stood. Believe me, he couldn't. And that's how I know. It's a gimme fight for Tommy. A gimme fight. If he gets it, he'll be very lucky. But listen, they want it. We'll jump straight to that one. We want that more than anything.
Obviously, we've seen the deal in place. Well, we haven't seen the deal in place. We've seen the announcement regarding Jake's deal with Showtime. Tommy's deal with Showtime, a two-fight deal with Showtime. Yeah. Everybody, myself included, assumes the second fight will be Jake Paul. Is that fair to say?
We'd hope for it to be. But let me tell you, to the people out there, we're in this to make money. We can make easy money in the fight game. We're going to make easy money. People say, why are you chasing a YouTuber? Money. One reason, money. To make Tommy's family better off than what they are and put Tommy somewhere financially secure without getting his brains rattled. If we've got to go down the conventional route, English, British, European, wherever he gets to in that, we'll go down that road. But all the time we can make easy money in Jake Paul, we're going to make it. We're going to grab it with both hands, because that's what it's about, this game. Nobody likes getting punched in the face for free. It's hard work no matter who you're boxing. So yeah, it is about the money with Jake Paul, nothing else. If we can get together, me and Showtime, hammer a deal out, we can have it next.
If he does get that fight and all being well, he is successful against Jake Paul, that kind of would put him in an interesting position from the status of a prospect. He would have headlined a pay-per-view against a big digital star like Jake Paul. You've mentioned there about the traditional route of English, British, European. Would it be difficult to kind of go back and blend the two after that?
Absolutely. Well, the money he's probably going to make out of the Jake Paul fight's retirement money for any boxer, but it's where Tommy's head's going to be at once he's headlining these big crowds. It's going to be a sellout crowd being beamed across the world. How can you go back to fighting for a Central Area title in some club or fight for a British title on some show? It's going to be hard work for Tommy, but let's just see, we're in the 21st century, mad things are happening, mad things are selling. Let's just enjoy the ride. We'll cross them bridges when we come to them, but at the minute we're walking on the right bridge, Jake Paul bridge, hopefully. That's if his balls don't grow. If his balls goes, we're in trouble.
Moving on, somebody pictured there, Daniel Dubois, again, somebody who you interviewed the other day in your new job at BT Sport, under a new trainer now in Shane McGuigan, makes his comeback against Joe Cusimano this weekend. I know Daniel's somebody whose career you followed for a while. What can you tell me about Daniel? How do you feel he'll fare this weekend? Daniel
will do the same as Tommy. He'll win in style, because that's just how it is. Daniel's a good fighter. I think they rushed it with the Joe Joyce fight. They got overconfident with him because he was knocking everybody over and looking sensational doing it, and sometimes he's still a pup and people forget that, but I just think he'll hammer out this win. The man's record looks all right, but when I've looked down it, there's not really much opposition to beat on the other man's record. The ones he's beat are relatively nobodies. So Daniel Dubois should look good over here. His American debut should be spectacular, and I've no doubt it will be.
Obviously working with Shane McGuigan now, new trainer, following that Joe Joyce defeat. Obviously had the Bogdan Dinu fight where he came back and looked good in 2 rounds. The right time to change at that point of his career, do you think?
There's only him knows. I'm sure Martin Bowers and team, they're all good professional people, they're good trainers, right up there with the best of them, and if Daniel thought he needed a change, that's up to him, but time will tell. He looks good what he's doing. Shane McGuigan, he's only young in the job himself, but he's doing nothing wrong. And I do believe he is a good trainer. Shane McGuigan, I think he's up there with the best of them. He's making waves with Daniel. He looked sensational in his last fight in Telford. So yeah, results speak all languages, don't they? And he got a good one that night.
Obviously beforehand, everybody was talking about Daniel Dubois as kind of the heir apparent to the heavyweights. Right, I think he was ranked at number 1 or number 2 with the WBO before that loss to Joe Joyce. Obviously he's had that defeat now. Do you think that in the long term it could work out to his benefit, having a little bit of time now to kind of build his own path and develop as a fighter without that pressure?
Let's just go back to Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is an exceedingly good fighter. He's up there, he's in the top 5 in the world. I think he'd give anybody in the world problems at the moment, so losing to Joyce is no real disgrace at 23-year-old, and he was ahead on points in the fight, and I do think with a bit more time and let him mature more, the defeat won't make any difference to him. He's learnt more from Joe Joyce than if he hadn't boxed him. It'll stand him in good stead, because he knows what it's like to be in hot water now. He knows what can happen to him in the ring, and it'll make him more cautious, and he'll be a better fighter for it. So it's all good for Daniel Dubois at the minute.
And before I let you go, it wouldn't be right to not touch upon the heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury, of course, your son. First and foremost, how are things with his new daughter? Obviously, I know that there were some initial complications with the birth. I hope everything's all well there.
There was indeed. It was very complicated at the beginning, but due to Alderhay Hospital in Liverpool, miracle workers, they got the job done. She was dead for 3 minutes, but they fetched her back, and she's at home now, and she's perfect. All due to Alderhay and the staff that worked there, all the doctors, the nurses, I want to thank them all from the bottom of my heart very much. We raised a lot of money for you, and it'll go to a good cause, because believe me, there's some needy people there. That opened my eyes already. I've seen people in there, nothing else really is important to me. Sport, but as long as things are right at home, everything will run smooth. Yeah, but Tyson's fine fettle now, started camp today. All his team's over here. I think the sparring partner's up there already, so his head's down now, and he's never felt better about this, I don't think. His spirits are high. I've never seen him as up for something, to be honest and truth with you, because it's been a long time coming. What with COVID-19, the delay there, unforeseen things can't be helped, but let me just tell you, he's on it. He'll get rid of Wilder in emphatic style, believe me. He'll knock him out quicker than he did last time, because when Tyson's up for it, he's got a point to prove. He will do the business, I know. And then it's the AJ trail. Back on the AJ trail as quick as possible. That's what we want. Get rid of this other bump in the road. AJ. That's all I'm thinking of. That's all we want now is AJ. But he's a risk, Deontay Wilder, because he's a banger. But listen, that's no problem, Tyson.
Well, it's good to hear that things are okay now with your granddaughter. Great. That's great to hear. Final one on Tyson. You mentioned the fact that COVID-19, I think it was a bicep injury or a hand injury of Wilder at some point last year as well for the July date. It's been a while since Tyson's been back in the ring. Any concerns over inactivity?
No, because Tyson's that good. At the end of the day, he's the best in the world without a shadow of a doubt. There's nobody in this era can come close to him, so I'm not worried. He can beat Wilder on a bad night. He said to me, Dad, I can beat him on a bad night. Inactivity will play a part, but listen, when Tyson's in there, 2 or 3 rounds, let them bombs go. Little bit of awkwardness, pressure again, crack at the seams, because Wilder knows what it's like to be battered up and down the ring like a rag doll, and that fear will still be there. He won't get over that, Norrie, and you'll see that come the 9th of October. Tyson win all the way.
Okay, well, John Fury, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Always a pleasure. Before I let you go, ahead of Tommy's return to the ring, what message have you got for Jake Paul, who I'm sure will be watching with a keen eye on a potential future opponent in your son, Tommy Fury?
Jake Paul, let's get this deal sorted out. You next. That's all I'm going to say. You next. Let's see where your balls are. You next. Tommy's ready for you. He will win. He will beat your sparring partner, no problem at all. You'll win as well. We know that. Let's get it on next.
John Fury, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thank you very much.